I've started sharing my screen. I hope that comes up. Great.
We got him. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
good enough. Thank you. Thanks, uh, everyone, for joining this virtual summit. And thank you, ZappleTech, for allowing me to deliver this speech on this topic of leveraging digital workforce for UAT automation, a topic that I'm pretty deeply involved and interested. So, because I have a lot of experience on the UAD side of things and being associated with the digital workforce practice at Capco. Uh, Before we could get in, a quick introduction about myself. I'm a principal at Capco in the wealth management and technology practice. Capco specializes in technology and management consultancy for financial services. So all my experience has been into financial services domain. The examples that I would go and that I would be sharing as a part of this presentation will be around the financial services industry, but it could be applied. The technology, as we all know, can be applied to any industry, not just financial services. It's industry agnostic. So I come with 20 plus years of technology consulting experience. You know, uh, have executed a large number of agile projects, agile and waterfall transformation projects across wealth management, cap markets, commercial and retail banking. My technology experience has been in largely in the project management, program management, business analysis, test management, and biz dev. Currently, I'm associated. I'm managing a business critical program for a wealth platform digitization project that my client is delivering to their client, which is responsible for getting 6,000 plus financial advisors on this platform. So I'm managing a large cross-functional team as a part of that program. My other hobbies include photography, and I'm a professional voice actor as well. Done voice acting in YouTube commercials, radio ads, and audiobooks. Uh, I am a robotic operating model architect and a PSM and a PMP certified professional. Well, okay, let's get on with the agenda for this presentation. So we are going to talk about largely leveraging the technologies, the advanced technologies in the digital workforce, and how could that be applied on for UAT automation. Uh, we will be covering how has UAT transformed over a period of, right, in early 2000 till till now, how the UAT's face has changed over a period of time. We'll look through the automation spectrum and what are the different types of automation that we know about that our other colleagues and on this summit have talked about. We will largely focused on two key technologies: the model-based testing and robots automation. They are the two key technologies that we'll be talking about with respect to the UAT automation. Where can it be applied, and how to go about applying it, and certainly the risk and challenges. There are the risks and challenges in any new technology, anything that we adopt. Uh, an interesting uh, line that I read, you know, by Dr. Edward Deming. So, which only means that change is the only constant. You know, if you, if we don't change, the survival is difficult. Yeah. It, hence, it is funnily put here that it's not necessary to change because survival is not mandatory. Yeah. But in order to be in business, you need to survive. The organizations have to survive if they happen to be, if they want to be in the business. So let's look at how the UAT has transformed since early 2000. So y- historically, when the agile manifesto was not in place, when largely the projects were waterfall oriented, the projects used to be a big bang projects. You know, Uh, the UAT, or the user acceptance test, has always came towards the extreme right of the project lifecycle. The focus of automation, when we talk about automation, was never on UAT. It was focus of automation was largely on automating the test cases for functional testing, system testing, traditional automation tools, say UFT, Selenium, and others. Yeah. So today, with the proliferation of digital technologies, uh, agile, DevOps, it is critical to automate the entire life cycle, and that's what we have seen, over a period of time. So where largely historically it was a big bang, UAT as the penultimate phase. The no go decision used to be at the very end. Largely there was no formal feedback loop and no holistic testing, I should say, to overarch the customer journeys. Things started improving. We then saw a hybrid model coming into play. Uh, it was again the UAT used to be towards the very right of the project life cycle, but at least there we started seeing some feedback loop. So not the entire project goes. It was it in chunks, but for every scope of work that goes live, there was a UAT towards the end, and then any feedback used to get incorporated in the subsequent delivery, project delivery. So there was a feedback loop, but again, the cost of quality was high. The cost of implementing a change coming as a feedback from UAT has been high. And over the past, I would say 2015 onwards, the slowly and steadily we have seen that the UAT have started moving left. Has been shifting left. It is embedded in squads and fleets at the user story, epic, and proposition level. You know, the users have either so just to level set. When we talk about UAT, not necessarily we always talk about the end ops users who who would participate in the user story. They may, and they do as well. But largely, we have also seen that the UAT as a model, as a business, has been, uh, outsourced, or there is a business partner, who would come in and help the the bank or organization to perform the UAT. So, and we do a lot of that kind of work as well. And we've seen that the UAT is hence getting embedded in into these cycles, and hence more of iteratively. UAT gets into either is executed in sprint or out of sprint, but at least it is a part of that iterative cycle. M- I would say multidisciplinary teams involved are empowered to adjust to the requirements and testing to bring out the optimum value to the program. Uh, and because testing and UAT is inherent in the squads across the customer journeys, you know, uh, the product is released to the production as soon as the UAT is complete. Whether it is released on production or not, that's a business decision, but at least the product is ready for go live. So we have seen this transformation, of UAT, and because of this transformation in the UAT, it is important to understand that how could we now look at automating the UAT. Uh, you know, the question could still be then that okay, fine, that automation has largely been the sit or the pre-prod testing function. What is the value we could derive out of automating UAT as such? So, why to automate UAT? So, let's look at this. Automation has been limited to high level regression scenarios that may or may not capture the application functionalities, the crucial application functionalities that uh, that goes live, that are at every end, at the end of every cycle, or at the end of every iteration. Existing automation framework is time consuming, which is largely focused on API slash backend testing, and it's time consuming, not able to keep pace with, not always being able to keep pace with the development effort. So it's there is a lag always, when we talk about these automation technologies. Uh, and because of that, the user acceptance has to be conducted manually, largely. Uh, Regression automation, again, not thorough, resulting in regression defects. I mean, uh, they regression defects coming out in UAT is a result of that. Because not always the regression scripts are able to are able to keep the pace with development efforts. Uh, and I touched upon this, that the automation largely, focuses on backend testing. So key user interface-based user stories uh, are hence carried out manually. So delivery cycles, they are getting shortened. Requirements change so often. Gone are the days that all the functional specifications were written all through in hundreds and hundreds of pages of FRD, and then it is being developed, and then UAT. We are far off. And we left that phase behind, thankfully so. Uh, and these automation frameworks that are currently in use, uh, they are certainly costlier to maintain. They have its own value. I'm not undermining the effort or the value that an automation engineer would bring onto the table. You know, uh, Here we are talking about engaging how to engage the UAT users or UAT testers in the whole gamut of testing soon, testing fast, because UAT is moving in sprint, and businesses are adopting this shift left phenomena. They want the testers, the users, to be involved in requirements gathering, in requirements documentation and elicitation. That's why we have these roles of product owners who are pseudo users as such. And with the advancement of technologies, the many firms have started coming up with a low code, no code softwares. And I was hearing our colleague Jenna's presentation earlier this morning about how the low code and no code technologies have made its way into automation largely. Uh, Again, talking about automation as a whole, it is gaining prominence. Some of the statistics that I have put into the uh, on this slide, this is taken from the World Quality Report. The or UAT automation has been gaining prominence. The last what I read was around 20% of UAT being automated across industries. You know, Large part of this 20% has been, I've seen, is in retail and in financial services. So it is gaining prominence. We used to talk about quality at speed. We used to talk about uh, how how we could deliver all the test cases faster. But here we have to know that it is not just quality, but we are also delivering value at speed. And that is only possible when we adopt the change. So let's look at the the what are the levels of automation? You know? Uh, So automation spectrum. So this, there's a lot of keywords, a lot of words here. I'll just quick, let you know what exactly are these. So left portion of the slide are the technologies that are that are largely rules based. There is no cognitive decision making by the machine that is involved. So that's where the foundational automation comes into play. The VB Excel macros or the hotkeys that that resides on the user's machine. Right, a little bit, you'd find many users going in and doing their automation for their own, like writing a quick Excel macros because they know about writing how to write the Excel macros, VB script, so they would do it, and that resides on that machine. Those are like those we call categorize as largely foundational automation. Moving up the value chain, we then talk about model-based testing, how the tests are written, created, like how the tests are being executed by creating models. And then, you know, moving further, we talk about robotic process automation, the two technologies that we will be talking about. Further up, when we go, we have intelligent automation, artificial intelligence, sometimes used interchangeably. Some say artificial intelligence is, intelligent automation is a hybrid of RPA and artificial intelligence. Whatever it is, I'm not going to go into the terms and the meanings of it. The message here is that intelligent automation, artificial intelligence are largely judgment based, wherein the machine is making a decision, you know, uh, uh, on behalf of humans. Uh, Very simple examples of this being, Netflix giving you results based on your browsing. Google Home, I remember Google Home. Uh, you could put in a message in an alarm, for example. So we used to put in our daughter's name in there. It didn't used to pronounce it well. It didn't used to pronounce the way we used to do it. But over a period of time, it started pronouncing the way it used to, because you know that Google Home is always listening. So that's it. It basically the machine learned and then adapted to the change. So where the intelligent automation and artificial intelligence are more judgment based, here we are looking at rule based automation, right? And that's what we are going to focus on: the robotic process automation and model based testing. Because practically we are not, although this from the business impact of IA and AI is far more, but the cost of implementing is way too high. So the question is, are businesses able to derive the value out of it? So let's look at each of them. Let's look at the model-based testing. By the way, the all these names here, they are the product companies which offer the softwares, like Curiosity. Broadcom has ARD, Agile Requirement Decider. Curiosity has Test Modeler for model-based testing. Robotic process automation, many of us, I'm sure, know about Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, UiPath, WorkFusion, and these companies also now offer IA and AI platforms. Right? So let's look at the first one, which is model-based testing. UAT automation using model-based testing. Now, it is important to understand why we why I have chosen these two in particular. Uh, let's look at the model-based testing, and I'll touch upon on that question, if at all anyone has that. Hold on to that thought. Model-based testing. So, in simple terms, as the definition states here, it's a black box testing. The black box testing process, which means we are not looking at the code. We don't need a, a automation engineer with with a coding background to adopt model based testing. It's a black box testing for derivation of test cases. That's important. The test cases are derived automatically. You're not writing test cases on an Excel or HPQC or Jira or whatever. You know, these test cases are derived out of the models. So think it this way: that any tester, you know, would generally mentally create those models, that what are the different scenarios I would want to test. Yeah. So scenarios and the test cases. So at least the scenarios are clear in the mind, and that gets translated into these test cases that gets documented. So here in the model-based testing, what we are referring to is that the user creates those models in the form of flowcharts, right? What is the scenarios, large number of scenarios that I would want to test. Yeah. And the system is generating test cases and eventually executing them as well. So these test execution or generation of test cases is happening automatically based on with the help of these models. The models could be created in the form of flowcharts. It could be created in the form of a BDD, GWT formats. So black box testing process for derivation of test cases from a model that describes the functional aspects of system under test. Uh, Different functionalities, different scenarios that needs to be tested are translated into models and executing those test cases as well. So, and there's a feedback loop established at every point, as we see here on the screen. An author, okay, a UAT tester would come up with a model scenarios. Uh, these models gets translated into test cases, varied number of test cases, which can be reviewed. Which can be reviewed by the UAT tester, whether the test case that the system has generated is it the correct one, or we don't need to test those. You can just check uncheck them, and tag the test data that needs to be associated with those scenarios. The test data again could be automatically generated, or it could be fed with the help of an Excel sheet or whatever software is required. It could be as simple as a basic Excel sheet being plugged into the the MBT software, and then it picks up the data while it executes the test cases. So, and there's a feedback loop established as a part of when you're generating the model and executing those test cases. So one clear cut benefit, as we see, the it reduces the test scripting time drastically. Yeah. So 95% reduction of test case scripting time, that's what we have seen. Reduction of test maintenance, because maintaining a test script is not going into the code, it is all through the flowcharts. You don't need a scenario because requirements have changed. Do it immediately, right? And again, overall designing execution time, we see a drastic improvement there. Uh, this is very much uh, flexible, I would say, right? Because there are these flowcharts, we could change, update, remove anytime we need, which means that if an application is undergoing a change, new product being implemented where the requirements are still not clear, we are going in iterative cycles, we can certainly use model-based testing. Model-based testing would create these models are in the form of flowcharts. We have developed these models. Uh, in the next sprint or the next cycle, there's a change in the requirement. It's very easy to go and change the flow chart, because there's no interference from the backend or any coding required from that respect. Uh, a, a quick flow, like the way it is done. So requirement modeling, it is continuously done. A BA or a product owner would document these models or import from a Gherkin specifications, business diagrams or test cases or even the log files. They are incorporated into the tool. The test cases, as we see here, are then accordingly, once the model is created, the system will evaluate and generate the test cases, the number of test cases coming out of that scenarios automatically. You know, the optimized test cases are generated directly in the flowchart fashion. And the test data I talked about, the test data is again, automatically fed, automatically generated, or it can be fed in the form of a Excel or a Word doc or whatever, that the software intakes. Uh, so here again, it's important because it's a low code slash no code platform. It doesn't need the skills of an automation engineer to come in and uh, you know generate these test cases or write the automation test cases, because many of you would agree the end users not always are tech savvy, or even the business partners that who are conducting the UAT or pseudo UAT users, they are not tech savvy. They are largely business people or from a different background, which but not always technology. So it's easier for them to pick up this model-based testing as a concept because it is all flowcharts. See, so model-based testing can be easily used for a product which keep changing. The requirements are very fluid and it's not finalized yet. So in financial services industry, we call this as CTB, change the bank. The other aspect of it is RTB, run the bank, where the systems are already live. They needs to be updated. There are updates to those platforms, but the systems are live. That those application needs to be maintained or updated based on the change in the business functions. So where model-based testing is used or highly recommended for CTB functions, change the bank functions, RPA would more, uh, I would say, beneficial for RTB functions, where the systems are matured. It is it's already live, but there is a need for continuously maintaining those applications, because there are changes to the products, new functions being added. So RPA, this is a subject close to my heart. Robotic process automation. What is RPA? It is a software with automation capability. You know, it's it has a robotic process robot in the name. Doesn't mean there is a physical robot coming in executing those testing. It is a machine which executes the test, executes a process. It's a virtual workforce, that emulates the human activity that any human would do. A machine is doing that, right? So hence RPA gets categorized as a rule-based technology. It's not, there's no judgment. Machine is not taking decisions. It is all rule-based. If this scenario happens, this is what the machine should do, from a navigation perspective, from a workflow perspective. So hence it is to be incorporated for systems which are matured, which has a lot of repetitive tasks. Historically, robotic process automation, or even now, it is being used largely on automating the business processes. The like, ops users coming in the morning, there's an email, and that email needs to be opened. There's an Excel sheet there, some basic formula to be applied, and then that email needs to be sent out to a large number of folks, right? So that repetitive process has to be or can be automated using the robotic process automation or RPA. The obviously it is it works on an existing architecture. So it doesn't need a separate hardware that to come in and then the to be implemented. It comes it existing servers that are being in play, that needs to be that has to be, that can be leveraged. It is controlled by the business operations. It is governed by the IT because it sits on the platform, but not necessarily that it has to be uh, it has to be controlled by the IT function and available day and night. You know, it's a machine can run anytime. All through the day. So in simple terms, RPA technique to automate business process of or human tasks. It's an interesting concept. Uh, Many places, I mean, some of the examples it can be used is from a financial services industry I come from. I'll give you some examples like in payment reconciliations, where the validation of time consuming repetitive scenarios can be automated. Trade execution, like I will see a demo of an RPF, simple trade execution. KYC, AML, or the claims payment. These are all the functions which are very mundane and repetitive. So any changes to these functions can be automated when these tests, when these functions are being tested. So where can it be, what can be automated using RPA? What applications uh, which are which has a predefined decision tree? As I said, it's a rule-based, a repetitive process, right? Uh, it has a fixed predefined data structures. The data structure is not changing. The metadata is not changing every now and then. It's not about implementing RPA for an application that keeps changing. It's for a mature application. Uh, the IT, the application spans across, the process spans across multiple applications. Only then you know, put buying a RPA license would add value. It has to have a significant volume. There has to be a lot of different scenarios to be tested. Multiples of very high volumes in order to justify the need for an RPA. And process is not emerging or adjusted frequently. It's pretty mature. Uh, so for these different areas, for these different scenarios, I would say the RPA is more beneficial. Let's take a look at a small demo here for order of an RPA. So what we have here, what I'm going to play here is uh, it's from this is from a Blue Prism uh, this is from a Blue Prism platform. So what you have here on the right is the uh, just give me a second. Yeah. Okay. What you have here on the right is the is the RPA itself. The way it has been documented in the form of flowcharts. Again, there is no coding involved. And on the left here, what we see is an application. It's a dummy application here, and the order. It's basically a simple trade order uh, application on the left. So here, what we if we see that when the application is running, so we could see how this RPA tool is executing a particular scenario. So what it does, it is loading the orders from an Excel sheet. It is opening up an application. All we see here on the left, application is opened. The order number is inputted, and on the right we see how is this executed. This is real life RPA, flow chart that is, or we call it as bot. A bot is running. So a new order is inputted. The order is submitted, and then and again it navigates through that Excel sheet, takes another order, and then puts in, and this way it completes all the orders that are there in an Excel. The source could be anything. Here it is Excel sheet. The orders are inputted one by one into the application automatically. So all what needs to be done is to be this bot, which is to be written here, and then it executes the the functions using this flow chart. Maintaining this again is so very is easy because there's no coding involved here. It is all based on the flow charts. If then else, and at the end of it, as we see, it is sending an email. It's sending an email to whoever. So it interfaces with Excel, interfaces with the application, and sending finally with Microsoft Office. Okay. So that was a quick thing. We are almost about time. We'll quickly look at uh, the risks and challenges. Earlier today, Jenna had a very nice slide talking about various risks. These are mimicking this almost same. Whenever we talk about new technology, we have we come up with employee. We have resistance. We have ownership issues. There was the decision paralysis point that was talked about, that Jenna talked about, uh, and uh, ownership, like who's going to own this whole RPA platform? Would that be IT? Would that be business? How the maintenance to be done? And if there is a change in the organization strategy, uh, who's going to own this? How is this RPA going to get get maintained? These bots are going to be maintained. Yeah. So this is pretty much what I wanted to cover. You know, any questions that you have? Anyone has? You could certainly. I can see there are a couple of questions. Main risks for organization. As we just covered a few risks. Employee resistance, business case scenarios. It has to add value, because of the kind of licenses that you that needs. I've seen that when we propose RPA platform to our clients, we largely recommend UAT automation using RPA for those firms which uh, has an RPA license already, which are the firms which are using RPA for their process automation. So that the the testing organization doesn't have to invest separately on a license. If they have an existing RPA license which they are using for their process automation, that straight away can be leveraged for UAT automation. There we have seen a larger adoption, as against uh, bringing in an RPA tool separately only for UAT automation. That's what I've seen largely. Yeah. Uh, okay, I've seen a couple of questions more. Okay, there was one question: look at trends in the automated testing market. See, I think some of it I covered. uh, Automated testing, things are moving very fast, I would say. Adoption of advanced technologies, some of them we covered. But yes, the proliferation of this low code, no code software and tools have have uh, have are sweeping the markets. They are taking over other tools, technologies that are in market, because if something is available with low code, no code, why to invest in uh, in something where you need required automation skills?
Thank you so much. It looks like there may have been one more question, and I think we covered it some, which is what are the main risks for the organization? Anything additional you wanted to point out on that one?
No, I did cover that, Jenna.
Okay,
First, I
I
think I
thought
took that
so.
question first.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was fantastic. And I love how they kind of
Absolutely.
like, our talks kind of work together. I want to chat with you more on that at some point.
Sure.
Uh,
Let's do that.